Quickly before the video starts, I just want to say a huge thank you for all the support so far. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you do enjoy this video, please make sure you subscribe. We're on the road to 2,000. So without further ado, sit back and enjoy. What's up guys, welcome back to another tips video. Today I will be covering cornering in MX bikes, as quite a few of you have been asking me to do this on previous tips videos. I have broken down this video into what I think are the three major keys when it comes to cornering. The first will be whether you should be sitting or standing in the turn. The second is your approach / your line into and round the corner. And then third and finally will be how you exit the corner. I think that focusing on these three aspects of cornering will help you go faster while staying in more control. And it will help your consistency overall, so let's get into it. And before getting into the first tip of the video, I feel like I'll get a lot of questions about the rider lean as I don't cover it in this video. I myself do not use the rider lean. I know people that are really fast that do, I know people that are really fast that don't. I believe it's all just personal preference. The rider lean can help you turn a bit tighter than you would be able to without it, but just for myself, I don't use it. It's how I learned to play the game, and I'm happy as it is, so I just thought I'd throw that out there before we start the rest of the video. So the first part we'll be looking at is whether to sit or stand in a corner. A good 95% of the corners in the game you should be sat down for. Being sat down in this game gives you more traction as well as allows you to turn tighter than you could do while being stood up. However, there are those odd occasions where standing up works better than being sat down. Examples of these are extremely rough tracks, or tracks where you're turning over rollers or big bumps. The biggest culprit of these tend to be the sand tracks, so tracks like Lommel or Lierop. The reason you would want to stand up round corners like this is that your legs are an extension of the suspension in MX bikes. They do soak up the bumps for you, so they'll keep your wheels planted on the ground more and it'll keep the suspension settled. As you can see here in the background, I'm stood up over these bumps and my bike is staying in control. I've got a nice smooth arch around the turn. If you compare this to the same corner when I'm sat down, you can see that every bump that I'm hitting disrupts the bike ever so slightly. It makes it wiggle a little bit, and every time it does this it will cost you speed, and you have to consider this loss of speed in this turn will affect the entire next section of track as well. On extremely rough corners it's very easy for your front wheel to tuck over the bumps. So by being stood up, not only are you absorbing the bumps to help eliminate that problem, you're also preventing yourself from leaning over too far, which again is a main issue for the front end tucking. Every other corner in the game, if it's a completely flat corner or if it's a corner with some very small bumps, you're absolutely fine to stay sat down the whole way. The next thing to focus on is your corner entry as well as your lines around the corner. With the corner entry, you want to make sure that your bike is settled by the time you come to the corner and ensure that you're positioned correctly on the track to be able to take the line that you want to take. Make sure that you keep your braking smooth and try and get all of your braking done before the corner even starts. Braking in a straight line greatly reduces the chances of your back end sliding out compared to braking whilst being turned slightly. The braking bumps will also affect the bike as you're coming into the corner, so if you need to, try venturing maybe a foot or two to each side of the normal bumps, and you might find a much smoother line which helps you really get settled into the corner easier, so you haven't got to do any last minute adjustments where you might be getting kicked side to side a little bit by the braking bumps. Then you want to be focusing on the angle that you're entering the turn. To me, in any corner there's really two options. You either rail the rut / berm from start to finish, entering it where the rut starts and exiting it where it finishes, or you can apex the corner completely and skip the ruts out. If you're planning on using to take the rut, then make sure you enter it right at the start, so this will open up the turn as much as possible. This will keep your speed around the corner without you needing to brake harder or to turn too sharp and risk crashing. In the background right now there's a clip of me hitting a double straight out of a corner. I wouldn't be able to hit this double if I came into the turn at too tight of an angle, had to brake suddenly and turn sharp and lose all my speed. So I start out wide, open up the turn as much as I can, keep my speed around the whole turn, and that really helps you get those few little more mile per hour out of the corner, which makes doubles like this possible. If you're looking to apex the corner rather than miss the ruts, treat the corner almost like you're in a Formula 1 car. So start on the outside, cut to the inside of the corner and then drift back up to the outside, again maximising your speed as much as you can whilst keeping your lean angle as little as possible while still making it around the turn, of course. the apexing technique I use on quite a lot of tracks. It's mostly useful on stock tracks or tracks where maybe the ruts themselves aren't always built well enough to be able to hit super fast. You'll find that some ruts have almost like a speed limit where if you go too fast you'll just pop out and over them and you'll go flying. So a lot of corners it is more beneficial just to skip the ruts altogether. It's also worth considering what rut you want to take as well. Sometimes it can be quite obvious in which rut will end up being the fastest round the turn. Sometimes the track makers don't give you multiple viable options, but some tracks it tends to be a bit closer. Just experiment a little bit with which rut you can hit faster, or sometimes it's not even a case of if you can hit it faster, it's if you can hit it smoother and more consistent lap in and lap out. Sometimes you even need to be a little bit more creative. You can see in the background here, I try the inside one lap, I try the outside another lap, and then I actually combine the two together, and the end result ended up being the fastest line around the corner rather than just kind of being stuck in your ways and stuck on one line. Right, that's 2 out of 3 done. The final part I want you to try and work on is the power delivery coming out of a turn. It's very easy to get a bit happy on the throttle and slide the back end out coming out of corners. Not only will this risk you crashing, but it will also slow you right down for the entire next section, and on some tracks this actually ends up in you losing a lot of time overall. As you can see in the background here, one tiny little slide out can ruin an entire section for you, most particularly when you're doing Supercross. Better say that it does affect national tracks as well. So it's really important to try and almost piece the track together in your head and work out how parts of the track will link to one another. Sometimes a really fast line in one corner might set you up really badly for the next corner or the next straight. So just try and work out overall what will help you flow around the track the best and transfer your speed from one section to another. There's 3 ways of trying to keep traction a bit better. Don't turn as tight whilst on the gas, rolling on the gas more progressively, or third and finally is to blip the throttle around the corner. To quickly go over the turning too tight before I explain the progressive accelerating and blipping of the throttle, there's a very fine line between carrying as much speed as possible as well as turning as tight as you can to cover the least distance as possible, which in turn result in quicker times. Unfortunately, this isn't something that's really teachable, as it's something that you'll learn with more time on the game. It's more something that you'll get a feel for the more that you play, and after a while you'll learn to know where the limits are before you go past them and inevitably crash. So I don't have too much to help on this point, unfortunately. It's just something that you'll have to go out there and try yourself and really get a feel for yourself. As a 250 rider myself, I find that the progressive acceleration helps me the most and suits my style more. Starting at half throttle and rolling it on until it's full stops me from breaking traction majority of the time. On a 450, however, the bigger bikes, you might benefit a bit more from the blipping the throttle technique around a turn. This is because on a 450 they have so much power that even the short blips of the throttle still give you a good amount of speed and momentum, and you won't slide out as you're not on the gas long enough at a time for the back end to come around on you. Whichever one of these 2 techniques that you'd rather use is completely up to you. Both have their pros and cons, mostly dependent on what cc of bike it is that you ride on. I would just advise going into testing and just give them a go. Some corners, one technique works better than others. It just depends what works best for yourself. If you found this video helpful, a like on the video would be greatly appreciated. If you are new to the channel, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. I do post a video every day, so plenty of content to look forwards to. I have some other tips and setup videos on my channel, so if they would also be helpful to you, then please do go and check those out. Thank you as always for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and until next time, peace.
Got bad shit all up in my mind right now. Fuck it, give me a minute and I'ma let it all out. I don't give a shit about an opinion, be another dimension when I wake up, wake up, wake up. Bitch, it's time to fill the cup. Got no fucking love, I feel so stuck.